Nick Offerman's back. This is the third release, 11-year-old Lagavulin. Is this the best one yet? Let's find out. We're diving on in. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Malt Muser Whiskey Reviews. I'm Eric, your humble malt muser. Today, we are going to be visiting the Isle of Islay to check out this nice single malt Scotch, Lagavulin 11 years old Offerman edition, charred oak cask. As always, here on the channel, a nose taste finish review. This whiskey is coming your way. I will tell you a bit about the value, share my final thoughts, put a final score on this bad boy, and of course, leave you with a malt musing as you walk out the door. Before we get into this whiskey, take a second, smash that subscribe button if you haven't. I do post whiskey reviews quite frequently here on YouTube. And of course, by subscribing, you'll get information on those. Plus, it'll keep you in the know when a live stream, live whiskey tasting gets thrown up on the schedule. So we are going to check this whiskey out because, well, this is a relatively new release, released late 2022. This is the third release in this Offerman series. Lagavulin, of course, is an Islay distillery located on that southwest corner off the coast of Scotland. And of course, Islay is known for their heavily peated single malt whiskeys. And Lagavulin is a big reason for that, famous mostly for its core range 16-year-old. This is a bit more of a special release. This is the third in the series that has been branded with Nick, working with Nick Offerman, of course, who got famous from the TV show Parks and Recreation, and of which on many episodes name dropped his love for Lagavulin. So there you go. The inaugural release was 2 years ago. They did a Guinness cask finish last year. And then this year we have this charred oak cask. So let's get into the tail of the tape here on this single malt. So first and foremost, we have an 11-year-old age statement, which means there is no whiskey in this younger than 11 years. It is bottled at 46%, which is quite nice. The regular 16 is bottled at 43. As for color and chill filtration, nothing is said on the bottle, and on the box, while there's a lot of information here, kind of story behind the bottle, and so on and so forth, poetic words, no indication about non-chill filtration or natural color, so we are going to assume they have put a bit of color in this and have chill filtered it. Lagavulin, of course, owned by Diageo, owns so many whiskeys. Here is a little bit of information about what we're looking at regards to this charred oak cask. So here's what it has to say. We collected charismatic casks of American white oak, bourbon casks, which is a very likely scenario there, with a few European oak thrown in for culture, all of which had previously held either Scotch or wine. So it sounds like there's probably a couple casks that this whiskey comes from that was ex-wine casks. The cask interiors were shaved down and then heavily recharred before we filled them with our golden 11-year-old single malt for maturation. So they were recharred. These were casks that had been charred once before, shaved it all off, recharred it again, put it on in there for its maturation, and there you have the 11-year-old Offerman edition charred oak cask. So we are looking at likely ex-bourbon, ex-sherry. I mean, saying they had Scotch before, who knows? And definitely an ex-wine cask. Okay, since we are going to assume that this colorant has been added, that is the color of the whiskey we are looking at, and it is rather clear and golden, which likely means more look at that, which likely means that this is probably had some color added to it, but that's neither here nor there. At the end of the day, we'll see if this whiskey can hold up despite a couple things that have apparently done to hamstring it. So here we go. On the nose, Ooh. So in classic Lagavulin fashion, it is very smoky. This one's striking me as smokier than the previous two 11-year-old Offerman editions. Lagavulin, of course, is some of the fattest stills, which plays a huge role in the amount of smokiness they get in their whiskey. I'm getting some fruit notes, kind of berries, wild berries, fresh. And then, of course, vanilla, caramel, earthiness a bit. There's almost a slight pungent, soapy quality to it. Definitely not overpowering and not taking anything really away from this whiskey. But really, we're looking at kind of sweet and spicy. It's very rounded. 11 years old is not very old for a single malt aged in Scotland. And I will say there's not a lot of edges to this at all, but you're getting peat, smoke. Everything else smells rather rich and inviting. So there you have it. That's the nose here on the Lagavulin 11 Offerman New Charred Oak. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. Mm-hmm. Big, pretty rich, medium high viscosity, quite big flavor. Sweet. One of the sweeter Lagavulins I've had. I mean, Lagavulin is relatively sweet whiskey. This is sweeter still, and that charred oak is playing part of it. You get a really nice kind of sweet fruit, a little bit of apricot orange, caramel, marmalade kind of thing going on. The chocolate is coming in after that caramel note, hints of vanilla, those little wild berries again. The chocolate kind of blends really nice is on the back end of this palate. It's a relatively medium development. Drying into the finish, chocolate, ash, smoke, charcoal, sweetness, a little bit fruity, maybe yellow fruit, little like Macintosh apple type thing, pear, but a medium long finish, maybe closer to medium. One more neat sip. Ooh. Maybe picking up a little raisin as well. All in all, a sweet, punchy, smoky Scotch, which is exactly what you would expect from the good people at Lagavulin. Okay, let's get a couple drops of water on this and just see what else we are going to pick up in this whiskey. As I mentioned, it's 46%. I'm going to do 4 drops on this. It's young. I think it can take the water okay. Let's see what else we can get out of here. Oh, wow. Fascinating. And another testament to why you want to always put a little bit of water on whiskey. So try it neat first, but a little bit of water really does break up those alcohol molecules and release more of the flavor. So the sweet kind of concentrated berry, yellow apple thing I was getting is moving much more into more of a tart kind of raspberry rhubarb fruit note. Hey, Winston. It's a bit earthier. It's toned down that sweetness. It's brought up the kind of oakiness and the smoke. This is not an over oaked whiskey. I want to be very clear. Like, I do not think this is, if you're not into whiskey that has a lot of wood driven notes, I still think that this is totally in your wheelhouse if you like peat. But the fresh wood is coming through, and the kind of just fresh cut wood note is coming through a bit more here. Still that campfire, smoky, slightly maritime Lagavulin style character still in here. better, more measured. Butterscotch enters the room here. Still getting some of those fruit notes, a little bit more lemon, lime, citrus. This is really kind of dialed back some of that berry note. It's just a little bit of a hint of it now. But this is not a, even neat. This is not a fruit forward whiskey. This is a very kind of caramel, bourbon cask driven whiskey. It almost tastes like a first fill bourbon cask. The other thing I'll mention here is that it goes into the finish. It's a bit longer. It's pulling back a little bit of that dryness, adding a milk chocolate to it. Almost like maybe even like hot chocolate cocoa powder. A little bit of nuttiness. Not bad. Not bad at all. Okay, so here in early 2023, the Lagavulin Offerman edition charred oak cask. This is not going to be too difficult for you to find, but look sooner than later. And that's just because once these are gone, they're pretty much gone. This is not something that they're going to restock and re-release. This is not a core range whiskey. So if you're a Lagavulin head, this is the time to go out and get this. If you're looking for a new, and the price I think is going to kind of reflect what we've seen in previous years. This is anywhere from around $80 to $100. 80 on the low end, you might see it a little bit higher. And if you wait too long, you might see it higher still. And before you know it, you'll be looking for it on the secondary market. So I'm going to, give that value score on this right around that medium. We'll get into the why right now. In final thoughts. So, look, I have basically enjoyed all three of these Offerman edition releases from Lagavulin. I like the fact that they put these at 46%. I like that they put an age statement on it. Those are both two good things. This one, I think, falls right in the middle for me. I don't like it quite as much as the Guinness cask finish, which I thought just brought a little bit more uniqueness, a little bit more character. This one strikes me as a very just sweet bourbon forward cask Lagavulin. It's a little bit of bells and whistles with these fruit notes from the wine cask, but I don't pick up a lot. So in terms of the Offerman editions, I think I'd put the Guinness cask as my favorite. This one's real close on second, and then the inaugural release would be third. It is, I'm hard pressed to ever find a Lagavulin that I don't like. So this is definitely a whiskey I think I'm going to enjoy as the oxygen works its magic on it. As I said, this is something you're going to want to get sooner than later. So let me get right on to that final score. So my final score here on the Lagavulin Offerman charred oak cask is going to be a 3.5 out of 5, which means I recommend you try this or snag a bottle at a good price. I just think it's another really solid Lagavulin. There's nothing to complain about here. It is very cask driven, so that as I was saying earlier, that kind of Lagavulin character is it's there in the smokiness and the peatiness, but this is a cask driven whiskey, as most of these Offerman editions are. I think this is an enjoyable one. It's definitely not gonna be something that disappoints. It may not be a world beater, however. So I think a 3.5 out of 5 is the right score here, and I'm going to really enjoy this as these winter months drag on here in Chicago. So 3.5 out of 5 Lagavulin Offerman edition. Let me know below, have you had this one? Where does it rank for you with the Offerman editions? I'd love to hear what you got to say. And with that, I'm going to send you to your malt music. See you next time here on Malt Music Whiskey Reviews. Let's launch it.